First, inevitable question. How come from a pop singer you became a drift driver?
Believe it or not, let's go back to before the 90s, before Boyzone. I was a car mechanic and I raced stock cars. So cars were everything I did before music. I actually became a motorsport, into music and came back to motorsport. So it's not such a big transition.
Okay, I reverse the question. How come from motorsport you went to music then?
That's probably a better question. I think opportunity in life came up, and I think, growing up as a kid, you want to be a pop star, you want to be a race car driver. Pretty much I do them too. So you can't go wrong with that, right?
Lucky guy.
Lucky guy.
Do you sing in the car?
I don't think, for me, singing in the car is that appropriate. I gotta concentrate, you know what I'm saying? I might entertain myself on the start line or the finish line with either some chants, some cheers, some come on, some encouragement to oneself, but not quite music.
I guess that your Nissan is playing a lot of music on its own. Can you talk us a bit about your car?
Without a doubt, I'm driving a 370Z Nissan. It's just a shell, and pretty much everything in there is bolted on as custom. We run it's called a VH45, which is a V8 engine with a supercharger. So the car is almost like two different cars. When it comes towards you, you hear the sound of a supercharger, like the whine of an F1 car or a Jurassic sound. When it leaves you, then you have the sound of like a NASCAR, a blunt V8. So it's like a confusing sound of a car when it goes around the track. I love it.
And what about drifting? Can you talk us a little bit about this art? Because I guess it's an art.
Sure, I think the art of drifting is what my Jap Speed car is set up for, because it's kind of designed to go high speed, 80, 100 mile an hour, change transition, and that's what the car is built. So you kind of have technical points like you do in Gymkhana, but it's just a lot more fluid, high speed. You don't really have obstacles to go around. You just have a flowing track in drifting. It's similar to this in terms of you have an opponent, but it's not timed. You're judged in drifting. So it's the extreme of motorsport. Anything that's kind of judged is almost the extreme of. And that's pretty much what it is. So it's quite a separate issue from Gymkhana to drift.
I guess that young people see, drifting cars, maybe Fast and Furious and stuff like that. What is your message about how they must behave behind the wheel in a national road?
I think the movie Fast and Furious, without a doubt, was one of the best things that ever happened for drifting in terms of its knowledge with the world. Unfortunately, when it comes to street motorsport, it's never a good thing. But luckily, as the sport grows, they're starting to get more drift days, drift events, more tracks are starting to accept drifters. And the bottom line is, it's not only our safety, it's also everybody else's safety. Like if you're gonna have an accident on the road, okay, you don't wanna hit somebody. But what if you're late at night, sliding around, there's no ambulance, there's no fire brigade, there's no rescue crew, so you're doing yourself damage. Go to a track, go to an event, go where there's the right abled bodies. So if there's a problem, you're gonna be okay. I think that's the most important thing.
Do you ever feel fear in racing?
I think for any guy who gets into a car, you gotta understand the element of danger. Am I afraid? No. Am I apprehensive or nervous? Yes, of course, because anything can go wrong.
Respect, maybe. That's the
You gotta respect the speed. You gotta respect the car. You gotta respect, any race car is 2,000 nuts and bolts waiting to go wrong. Not to stay right, to go wrong, undo and brake. That's what it wants to do. So you gotta be ready for any moment of impact, I guess.
Who was your childhood hero for motorsport?
I think for motorsport, my childhood heroes are more down the rally side of things. I was often into Mackinnon and McRae and that kind of stuff. And then I loved touring car like John Cleland, and then maybe like Le Mans, Alan McNeish and that kind of stuff. A lot of different guys who I've seen for years and years racing, who I eventually got to race against myself, luckily through kind of British GTs and stuff, where I kind of started in 2000 and that kind of area of motorsports.
What about F1? Do you like it? Do you watch it, Formula One?
Formula One, I think I was more involved in Formula One, or more enthusiastic about it maybe 2 or 3 years ago. This year, I would say only because I've been busy. I've been traveling around the world. I didn't quite get to see it, and there's so many races, so many races. I only get to see them here and there. I can't follow the full championship anymore. But generally when I do, when I get to see it, I sit down at home, I crack some beers, and I do enjoy Formula One. I think it's a great motorsport.
Fancy driving an F1 car?
Funny enough for me, I've never fancied open wheel cars. Never F1, F3, Formula Fords, Formula Renaults. Never my style of driving. I like a tin top. I like a road going style car, and that's just me. That's my interest in motorsport.
How easy was it after your singing career to be accepted from the world of motorsport?
I think it took me a long time for people to accept the fact that, okay, I'm a driver. It's difficult when originally I was a driver and then went to music and then came back to driving. People still think it's like your first time. I'm maybe since 1998 in motorsport now. It's a long time. I know most of the people in motorsport, and everybody kind of knows I drive race cars now. So it's nice to be out the other side and accepted for sure.
Looking at your style, you don't seem like a pop singer.
Oh yeah?
More like a metal singer.
All the years of kind of being in music, I've always had my individual stamp. But don't forget, just because the music I do as a lifestyle or business is not necessarily the music I listen to. I don't really listen to pop music, so hence why I look how I look. But that is a band that I love, and I've grown through the 90s, and we are who we are. We are Boyzone, we always will be, but I just look like this.
You said that you had 2 young daughters. Do you fancy teaching them how to race when they get older?
My oldest daughter, she's 7. She's not quite racing right now, by all means, but out the back garden we have all the toys, we got the buggies, we've got everything. So she's a good little driver at the moment. I don't think we'd ever take it serious. However, you never know. You never know. My youngest is 3 years old. She's just starting to get into a crazy kart now. Decided to mess around in the crazy kart. And she's probably more enthusiastic than my older child. So maybe I need to concentrate on that.
I don't know if the older remembers. Did she have the same reaction when you saw you race and when you saw sing?
Yeah, I think when my kids come down to see me do anything in terms of performance, from any kind of television to concerts to motorsport, they love being around their daddy. I'm not a moody guy. I'm not a guy who is like, leave me alone, I gotta concentrate. No, it's all fun. It's great, let's get in the car, let's sing, whatever. It's all good. Life's quite easy on an easy par, you know?
And okay, life is good, but what brings next in the future for you? What are you dreaming of?
In the future for me, next year's championships, I want to do a few through Europe. Just trying to dial my car in right now for Jap Speed. We built a good car this year. Next year we've got to get out there in competition. For music, maybe in 2 more years we'll come back as Boyzone, and that we are 25th anniversary, 25 years of Boyzone. So we still got a little time to make that album and make that happen. But generally speaking, my next 2-3 years are all mapped out already.
Okay.
Thank you
Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.